Hi, my name is Mrs. Ekta Kohli and I am going to walk you through various important aspects of the IELTS speaking test. I am sure that these lessons will answer all your questions, clear your doubts and drive your test preparation towards your desired results. So let's begin. To begin with, the IELTS speaking test is quite special because it is conducted independently either on the same day as your listening, reading and writing test or on the next day. You will receive a separate schedule for your speaking test when you register for the examination. Make sure that you arrive at the test center well before the given time, not only to avoid delays. It will also help you to get suited to the environment. The speaking test is carried out as a one-on-one interview between the candidate and the examiner. You will be alone in a room with the examiner where he or she will ask you a number of questions and assess you based on your speaking abilities. Your speech will be recorded. The interview lasts up to 15 minutes and consists of 3 parts. Each part fulfills a particular function in terms of the interaction pattern and the candidate's performance. Each part has distinguished characteristics in terms of questions and responses. We will therefore review the question types of each test part and discuss key points for a good response. The questions in the first part of the IELTS speaking test are mostly self-introductory. In a duration of 4 to 5 minutes, you will have to answer questions about your interest, family, work, yourself, and other relatively familiar topics. Depending on your answers, the examiner will assess you for your responsive abilities in your English speaking. Let's see some examples of speaking part 1 questions. Tell me about your hometown. How do you spend your leisure time? What kind of clothes do you like to wear? Do you like traveling to places? Why? Do you play any sports? What do you like about that sport? What sort of television programs do you watch? How do you normally spend your weekends? Do you prefer spending time with your friends or your family? Very simple, right? The most important factor of speaking part 1 questions is that they are very specific. You have to listen and identify the particular information the examiner demands of you. Let's discuss some strategies to attempt these questions. Listen carefully and understand the question. Irrelevant answers are often results of a misinterpreted question. Identify the key words in the question and focus on answering them. In the question, how do you spend your leisure time? The key words are how, spend, and leisure time. You need an answer that responds to these words. Delivering full, relevant answers will always help you to get the interview off to a good start. Avoid short and uncommunicative replies. Never restrict your answer to a simple yes or no. There is always an explanation to the things we do. Include that in your answer. The length of an answer shouldn't be too long either. 3 to 4 sentences are sufficient. Remember, the questions are based on topics that you are fairly familiar with. That means you already know the answers to these questions and your answer shouldn't be too long. So don't worry about the content. Pay more attention to the presentation instead. Let's now move on to talk about the second part of the speaking test. This part is called the long turn and it lasts from 3 to 5 minutes. It may well be called the most important part of the speaking test, and it won't be incorrect to say that your performance in this part of the test will greatly influence your speaking test scores. The task here is speaking on a given topic. You will be presented with a topic card and you will have to speak on the given topic for 1 to 2 minutes. You will be given 1 minute to prepare before you speak. You will also be provided with paper and pencil to make notes if necessary. Let's see some examples of the topic card. Describe a memorable holiday. You should say when it was, what you did, who you did it with, and explain why this holiday was memorable to you. A topic card contains the main topic along with some points that help you elaborate your speech. Although the topics are quite simple, speaking on them at length, continuously for 2 minutes is a challenging task for most people. Let's see how we can make it simpler. The examiner will evaluate your speech on following factors: your ability to speak at length, whether you include all given points in your speech, explaining each point in sufficient details, organizing speech in a fair manner. The key to your 2-minute speech is preparation. How your speech comes off is mainly dependent on how you spend your 1-minute preparation time. Use that time to carefully read the topic, understand the main idea and the key points. You must include all given points in your speech, so it is crucial to understand them. Read the topic card twice to make sure that you have understood everything. Focusing on the key words and main ideas, make short notes. Write down any idea that will help you explain the given topic. Do this quickly, and if you have some time left, read your notes again to help you organize your ideas and sentences. The topic card will help you form a structure for your talk. Begin your speech with an appropriate introduction and then start expanding your ideas. While speaking, keep glancing at the topic card and your notes to ensure that you are not skipping any points and your sentences are relevant to the topic. Take each point and explain it in sufficient details. Your objective is to speak at least a minute and up to 2 minutes. That means the examiner will stop you when your 2 minutes are over. So make sure you haven't left any part out. Although the task is quite challenging for most candidates, the key is to practice as much as possible. Collect as many topic cards as you can and time yourself. Go over the preparation and the speech time and time again until you get it right. After speaking on the given topic, the examiner takes you to the third and final part of the test, which is a two-way discussion. In these concluding 5-7 minutes of your test, the examiner will ask you questions on various broader ideas that are linked by the verbal prompts used in part 2. If, for example, you were asked to speak about your school in part 2, this part will contain questions about education in general. If in part 2 you talked about a song you like, part 3 will contain questions about music. That is what I mean by broader ideas. And as the questions are broad, your answers too have to be broad. They shouldn't be about yourself as in part 1 or part 2. In this part, you will not talk about your personal experiences. Here you will answer questions that demand your opinions on a variety of topics related to communities, societies and countries. Let's see some examples of questions in part 3. Music. What kind of music is popular with young people in your country? Do you think musical choices change as one gets older? Tourism. How does tourism affect a country? What are the advantages of tourism for a country? Are there any disadvantages? How can cultures learn from each other through tourism? Now let's look at some guidelines to answering part 3 questions. Understanding the question is essentially important. If you fail to hear the question clearly, or if you do not understand a particular term in the question, or if you do not understand the phrasing of the question, do not hesitate to ask. It is always better to ask for a clearer question than delivering a misinterpreted response. You are allowed to request the examiner to repeat or rephrase the question. You may use the following phrases. Excuse me, I did not quite catch that. Could you repeat the question? I beg your pardon, but I couldn't hear the question clearly. Could you please ask the question again? I'm sorry, but could you please explain what you mean by? Responding this way will indicate the evidence of your conversation skills and assist you to understand better. The answer too will be clearer. Always have an introduction and a conclusion to your answer. A good structure will represent your organizational skills and will surely enhance your answer. As almost all speaking part 3 questions demand your opinions, you may begin your statements with expressions that indicate your opinions. Introduce your answer with expressions such as, in my opinion, as far as I am concerned, I tend to think that, in my view. To conclude, you can use hence, therefore, that is why, in conclusion. The core part of your speech is your main idea. You need to explain and expand your main idea with help of various facts and examples. Make sure that your statements are relevant and coherent. Avoid any unnecessary details. Choose your words well. Link your sentences together. You may use the linking words such as firstly, secondly, moreover, however, furthermore to complement and contrast your ideas. This will enhance your answer to a mark and indicate your organization of speech. If you need some time to collect your thoughts and compose your sentences, you may use these linking words as fillers and maintain your continuity. Let's have a look at a sample answer to help you understand how to implement these techniques in your response. Do you think extracurricular activities are important for growth of the students? Why or why not? I definitely feel that the extracurricular activities in and out of schools are extremely essential for development of the students. Because firstly, these activities act as a stress buster and help children to get over the pressure of their studies. Secondly, when students attempt these activities, they explore various fields and enhance their own personality. Taking up sports or music or painting is not only good for their physical and mental health, but they are also strong career alternatives for their future. Therefore, I think that extracurricular activities are significant to a student's growth. As you can see, this answer consists of an introduction, a main body, and a conclusion. Introduction and conclusion focus on the key idea of the question and state the speaker's opinion. The body explains the opinion with help of various reasons. These reasons are linked together with linking words and prompts. So that's all the speaking test is about. Let's revise the whole pattern again, shall we? In this total test of 10 to 15 minutes, the examiner and the candidate engage in an interview that consists of 3 parts. In the first part, you will come across questions about yourself and the topics of your interest. The questions are quite simple, but they are very specific. You must understand each question and deliver a complete, relevant answer of about 3 to 4 sentences each. In the second part, the long turn, the examiner will present you with the topic card and give you 1 minute to prepare on the topic. Based on that, you have to speak uninterrupted for 1 to 2 minutes. You must prepare well in order to speak well and include all given points in your speech. Ensure that your content is well organized and relevant to the points. Next, in the third part, you will have questions that demand your opinions on various broad ideas. Listen and understand the question carefully and deliver a focused response. Do not forget to have an introduction and a conclusion to each response. Organization of ideas plays an important role in this part. Apart from the specific requirements of each speaking part, the examiner will assess your speaking on following factors: fluency and coherence. Fluency deals with the flow of your speech. Speaking fluently simply means speaking in a consistent flow without any unnecessary pauses. The pace of your speech doesn't really matter here. You should proceed speaking in your natural speed, but remember to maintain it consistently. Coherence is the understanding of your speech. If the content of your answers is easy to follow, in terms of ideas and relevance, your speech is coherent. In other words, it is the clarity of your speech. Speak sharply and clearly. Do not hesitate. Lexical resources. Lexical resources are the power of your words, meaning vocabulary. Your vocabulary should be varied, flexible, and appropriate. Choose your words wisely and correctly. Avoid repeating a set of words over and over again. Use the best words possible. Grammatical range and accuracy. You must deliver the sentences that are grammatically correct. There is no alternative to having an apt grammatical structure, because without it the sentences are simply meaningless. Pay attention to the tense of the sentence, the subject-verb relationship, and make sure your sentence construction makes sense. The way you pronounce your words must be clear. It should be easy to follow with good rhythm, stress, and intonation. Remember, a good pronunciation doesn't mean speaking with a Western accent. Keep your original accent and pay attention to the delivery. Your command over formal speech. As you are interacting with the examiner and not your friends, every expression you use must be formal and proper. Avoid using slang such as dad, mom, or guys, no matter how habitual you are to those words. Avoid jargons or the terms that are too technical. How formal you are to your speech is going to have a great impact on your speaking abilities. As you practice and improve your speaking skills, be aware of these factors. Now, for your benefit, we are going to look at 2 samples of the IELTS speaking test. Please observe all the proceedings and pay special attention to the interaction pattern.
May I come in,
Please
sir?
come in. Have a seat. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for having me here.
What is your name?
My name is Abhinav Patil.
Okay, Abhinav. May I see your passport, please?
Sure, here it is.
Alright. Shall we start then?
Yes.
I would like you to describe your education until now.
Well, professionally, I am an engineer. I have completed my bachelor's in engineering from Pune University in computers. I am a computer engineer. Apart from that, I have done several courses to enhance my expertise in this field. Courses such as Microsoft certification and programming languages.
And what school did you go to as a child?
I went to Army Public School at Dev Road. It is a co-educational school where discipline and quality of education are given paramount importance. I love being there because it has not only taught me to stay focused and disciplined in my life, but we also have enormous fun in there. It's a great school.
Okay. What was your favorite subject in school?
As a child, I was always very interested in the languages. English was my all-time favorite subject in school and also after school. I really loved learning the beauty of the English language. The subtle, finer nuances of the language always fascinated me in my childhood. I was very fond of the language and I topped it in the exams too.
And which subject did you dislike most?
History. As much as I loved reading about the great people in the past, I always hated learning history. Reading all those facts and figures and years and memorizing them or recalling them was very confusing and I was very bad at it. Probably the worst in my class. So I guess the subject I disliked studying was history.
Alright. Who was your favorite teacher in the school?
My English teacher, Mrs. Rima, was my favorite class teacher in my school. A tall, fair, and charming lady, she was an excellent class teacher. She identified my fondness for the language and always encouraged me to read and write more. She not only perfected our language, taught us with ease, but also motivated us at different times. Although I am a computer engineer, I often spare time to read and write. This is all. This is all thanks to her.
Alright. Have you visited your school any time after completing your education?
Yes. Well, in fact, I happened to visit my school last month. We had organized a small classroom get together in the premises and had quite a bit of fun. Most of my classmates had turned up eagerly, and we all roamed through the grounds, the passages, and the classrooms with a longing in our heart. It was a memorable experience to recount the golden days spent at that place. It was really great.
Alright. Now, in this part of the test, I would like you to speak for 1 to 2 minutes on a topic. Here is the topic card. And here is your paper and pencil to help you prepare. You have 1 minute to plan and think what you are going to say. Alright? You can also take short notes if you want. And your time starts now. Describe a place that you have visited and you have fond memories of. You should say what it is, when you visited it, what you saw, and explain what was special about this place. Okay, Avinav, can you please start speaking now?
I enjoy traveling to places a lot, and so far I have visited n number of places. However, the place which has left deep imprint on my heart is undoubtedly Haridwar. Haridwar is situated in North India, in state Uttaranchal. It is an exquisite pilgrimage city of the Hindus. Hari is one of the names of Lord Vishnu, and Dwar means gate. Literally, it is a gateway to God. I always make it a point to visit Haridwar frequently, not only because it offers a serene spiritual peace to every seeker, but also it is an excellent landscape of pure natural beauty. My last visit to Haridwar was in June 2012. I went along with my family and stayed there for 4 days. We visited various places such as Har Ki Pauri, Shanti Kunj, Pavan Dham, Jairam Ashram, and many others. These places are landmarks of our mythological and historical tradition. We learned a lot of things about Haridwar in our visits. We learned that Haridwar is said to be the birthplace of Vedas. It is also said in Amrit Manthan, some parts of the holy elixir was dropped on these places, making them the purest creation of God. Haridwar is truly a pious and amazing city, and one feels like one has ascended into the heaven while wandering in the parts of the city. The place has to offer an indescribable pleasure and serenity to everyone. The city's beauty is unique and beyond the normal definition of beauty and grace. River Ganga, the mother of all rivers and people as it is called, is believed to wash all sins of the person who dips in her waters. People have enormous faith in Ganga, and to indicate that, the city of Haridwar is always swarming with various religious festivals and rituals. One of such festivals is the Kumbh Mela, a gigantic event where millions of people participate to perform ritualistic bathing in the Ganga and pray for their own salvation. Even though we weren't visiting the city at the time of Kumbh Mela, we sure heard a great number of tales about the festival and the people. This whole experience made my visit to the Haridwar really very special and truly memorable. Haridwar will always hold a special place in my heart because it is a perfect mixture of natural and the spiritual.
Thank you, Abhinav. Now, speaking of traveling and visiting places, which places in your country would you recommend to a visitor?
I beg your pardon, please. By visitors, you mean foreign visitors or an Indian visitor?
By visitor, I mean a foreign visitor.
Well, India is a country of great diversities. The choices of visiting places are limitless. From paradise of Jammu Kashmir to southernmost Tamil Nadu, one could always choose places according to the tourism he is interested in. Depending upon the interests of visitor, for instance, if he likes to visit places of natural beauty, I would suggest him to visit Jammu and Kashmir. Or if he wants to visit historical monuments, I would suggest visiting Rajasthan or Hyderabad. Or if he simply wants to relax, I would suggest going to Goa. So I could recommend him number of places according to my knowledge.
Okay, do a lot of tourists visit your country?
I believe so, yes. Tourism is one of the fastest growing industries in India. People from countries around the world have always been fascinated by India, and they have been visiting the country for various purposes. Some tourists want to experience the spirituality of India. Some come to see the birthplace of yoga and Ayurveda. Some people visit to roam around the famous castles and palaces. And some, as I said earlier, come simply to relax. India has a lot of places to offer to tourists, and I believe that there are still many places which haven't been explored yet. But essentially, yes, lot of people visit my country as tourists.
Okay. What are the advantages of tourism to a country?
Benefits of tourism for a country are enormous. Tourism or the growth of tourism not only welcomes guests from foreign countries, but it also generates a significant amount of revenue for a country. According to my knowledge, tourism is one of the major sources of income for countries. Secondly, tourism helps local communities to become independent and offers remarkable opportunities of employment through various shops and businesses. Moreover, tourism helps interactions of culture, and this in my opinion is the biggest opportunity of development. A lot of countries, cities and villages have shown over the years that growth of tourism can do wonder to their profits. That is why I sincerely believe that tourism is beneficial for a country.
Okay, now are there any disadvantages of tourism?
I am inclined to say that there are none. Except some few possibilities of the conflicts between the tourists and the local communities, I don't think there are any negative aspects of tourism. In order to ease these conflicts, both the guest and the host should maintain mutual respect and proceed in harmony. This, in my opinion, is a small problem and can be solved easily. So, apart from this, I see no disadvantages of tourism.
Well, thank you, Abhinav. That is the end of your speaking test.
Thank you, sir. It was pleasure talking to you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
This is a result of Abhinav's speaking test. Abhinav had a good understanding of every question, and it was clearly reflected in the content of his answers. He answered every question with sufficient ease and made sure that his ideas were relevant. He chose a moderate range of vocabulary, used appropriate words and expressions in his responses. His range of grammar was fairly good. As far as the sentence construction was concerned, he made no mistakes. However, the major flaw in Abhinav's speaking was his lack of fluency and coherence. He couldn't deliver his sentences in a constant flow. He often fumbled in the speech and was unsure of most of his statements. Even though the content of his answers was accurate, he delivered it in an almost monotonous tone. Overall, his fluency was intermittent. Furthermore, in the second part of the test, he failed to speak on all points from the topic card. Owing to all these factors, Abhinav has scored a band score of 6 in his speaking test.
May I come in, sir?
Please come in. Hello.
Hello,
have a
sir.
seat. What is your name?
My name is Sneha.
May I see your passport, please?
Sure.
Okay, Sneha, shall we start?
Yes, sir.
I'd like you to tell me, how do you normally relax yourself?
Whenever I feel a need to relax myself, I go out for a walk, go on a bike ride with my friends, watch a movie, or simply lie down listening to music. It depends on my mood.
Okay. Tell me, who is your ideal and why?
My ideal is no one but myself. I'm surely influenced by a great number of people, but I personally do not like to impose anyone else's ideology or persona. I accept as I am and I try to improve myself constantly.
Okay. What qualities do you admire in a person?
The qualities that I admire in people include honesty, sincerity, truthfulness, industry, and a good sense of humor. I like to see these qualities in people and I like to be around people who possess these qualities because I believe that these qualities define a person and distinguish him from others in the crowd.
Okay. What qualities would you like to inculcate in your children?
I would like my child to have qualities such as solidarity, a keen sense of inquiry or curiosity, honesty, and a great passion for knowledge. I would make all efforts for my child to adapt these qualities because I believe a child with a keen sense of inquiry and a passion for knowledge can always be independent and pursue his dreams with all his heart.
Okay. What kind of people do you think become famous?
I guess the people who've achieved something creative in their respective fields become famous, such as scientists, writers, or artists. There are other professions where fame comes with the title, such as film stars or politicians.
Okay, that is the end of part 1. Now in the second part of the test, I'm going to give you a topic and going to ask you to speak on this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. With this topic card, you're going to have this piece of paper and a pencil to help you prepare what you're going to say. Okay, you're going to have 1 minute for this preparation and 2 minutes to speak. I'm going to stop you after your 2 minutes are over, so you can start your preparation right now. Okay. Your 1 minute is over. You can begin.
Okay. I'm of the opinion that most public figures like to stay in the limelight either by proving their expertise or by causing controversies. One such famous personality that I remember is Baba Shantaram, previously known as Shantaram Sharma. He was one of the most famous people in the 80s. After earning a PhD in philosophy, Mr. Shantaram went to teach in the local university where his unconventional methods of teaching drew everybody's attention. At the age of 30, he left teaching and started conducting meditation camps all over India. His work and his fan following earned him the famed title of Baba, which means a sage. He was controversial because he divested a common man of his beliefs and made him to question the so-called religions. His denial of marriage as a social tradition and acceptance of love as a sublime energy, his consistent verbal attacks on the established systems made him a highly controversial figure. His plea for a free life drew enormous number of Western youth and he became a guru to millions of people. Baba Shantaram always condemned the established systems and rebelled against the social ways of life. His ashrams all over India were pouring with foreigners, and this made the local people suspicious about what goes on in the ashram. There were a lot of rumors and protests against Baba Shantaram, but all this earned him an even greater fame. Ultimately, Baba Shantaram became so much controversial that people reading Shantaram's books or even wearing his symbols were considered to be a subject of abomination. I'm of the opinion that Mr. Shantaram was an independent thinker and a free ideologist. However, I do not agree with his ways of finding God. I personally believe that he was one of the most controversial people in India.
Okay. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask you a few more questions about controversies in media. Is it true that some emerging personalities try to cause deliberate controversies around them?
I believe so. Driven by the desire for publicity, most of the budding public figures try to make intentional faux pas just to remain in the limelight. For example, a budding writer may write something against a religious leader or a political leader, or an upcoming politician may attack on an established tradition. However, such controversies or any other controversies are always used as a public stunt in the entertainment industry. And that is why we can see many of the film stars try to attempt a lot of controversies. On the other hand, there are some people who get into controversies unintentionally.
Okay. Do you think the controversy should be supported, or should we try to find causes and solutions for them?
I firmly hold the view that suppression or negligence is not the answer. However, I think that the controversies should initially be gauged by the media as well as the public and assess whether there's something that really matters to the society or it doesn't. For example, a social worker. A social worker may claim to have an uncovered corruption in the society, and such news should be given sufficient importance and significance by the media as well as the people, as this is something that really matters to the society. However, if it's just something like a minor difference in the opinion of two film actresses, such news should not be exaggerated or even publicized, as they are simply not worth it.
To what extent do you think that the news presented by TV media is reliable?
I do not say that whatever they show is always misleading, nor do I believe that whatever they broadcast is the absolute truth. However, there are a few news programs and stories that are produced after a rigorous research, efficient evidences, and a lot of confirmations. Such news are always reliable. However, on the other hand, we see that there are times when there is no news available. At such times, the news channels are forced to make one. And so simple happenings are exaggerated and presented in the form of news. However, I believe that, it is easily noticeable by a wise mind. Also, we can see that in the present competitive frenzy between the news channels, many producers are tempted to broadcast news and stories that without even confirming their truth, and this is simply because they want to be the first one to broadcast it. So such news, I think, is unreliable in my opinion.
Okay. What do you think can be the causes of the controversies?
I'm not entirely sure, but the causes of controversies could be, they may include qualities like personal ego, conflicts, difference in the opinions, or difference in the culture. It can even be a difference in the upbringing of people. It varies from people to people. It can also be suppression or just a hunger to rebel. As we've discussed earlier, some controversies are purely intentional and some are totally innocent. Some controversies are worth looking into and some are worth ignoring. So I believe that whatever the reason be, controversies are going to happen as they are a part of the human behavior.
Okay. Thank you, Sneha. That is the end of your speaking test.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thank you.
Let's review Sneha's performance in the speaking test. Sneha evidently had a remarkable command over the language as indicated by her answers in all parts of the test. Although she fumbled between a few answers, her fluency was continuously intact. The clarity of her speech was consistent with the flow of sentences. She comprehended all questions accurately, and when uncertain, she took some time in understanding the question fully. She approached the questions with comfort and delivered relevant answers. Sneha's choice of vocabulary was excellent. It contained a variety of words and she seldom repeated any of her expressions. This showed a wider and higher range of lexical resources than average speakers. Her grammatical structures were accurate. The kind of sentence forms she handled were outstanding and established her linguistic skills quite well. Sneha scored an 8 in her speaking test.